Many of the updates on the new Alpha 6700 are going to be along the lines of, hey, we've seen this before, or oh, we've also seen that before. Well, yes, that is exactly the point of this camera. It is everything you've ever loved from the full-frame Alpha cameras, the ZV cameras, and even the cinema cameras packaged into what is easily Sony's best APS-C camera to date. This package now arrives in a body that's giving me some A7C vibes. It's definitely not the exact same body, it's still relatively easy to tell them apart, but the format of it has some resemblances. The flat top, for example, well, flatter top, it's almost perfectly flush on the Alpha 6700 now. Single SD card slot on the left side of the body together with your I/Os, which includes both mic and headphone jacks, a USB-C port, and a micro HDMI. I'll tolerate the micro HDMI this time because it's a small body, but the product designers over at Sony, though, seem to have cracked the code on making the most amazing grip on a small body. Now, I used to hold a bit of a grudge against the grip design on the A7C, but this is leaps and bounds ahead. It is impossible to not instantly notice it when you pick this camera up. It genuinely feels like a big camera grip despite being an actually small camera. This also gets the full triple dial treatment, one in front for your index finger and two behind for your thumb. There's also that 3-position selector for stills, movie, and SNQ. Don't think I've seen this design before. It does have a tendency to trick your muscle memory into thinking it's the rear dial on most of the full-frame Alpha models. Speaking of muscle memory, they've also offset the notch on the power switch, so it's harder for you to mess up by accidentally switching your camera off due to its proximity with the newly present front dial. Good design, in my opinion, but again, you'll find your muscle memory working against you here. The EVF is 2.36 million pixels, OLED 120 Hz. LCD screen is fully articulating. So far, I'm loving the hardware, with just one exception. I thought we were done with the jingly strap things. Underneath the figurative hood, the Alpha 6700 packs the coveted Bionz XR mated to a 26 megapixel BSI sensor. I assume this is the same sensor found in the FX30 because this does take a rather big page out of the FX30 in terms of video specs. This can do uncropped 4K up to 60p, and at the expense of a 38% crop, this can dish out 4K 120p. And to my surprise, that wasn't it. This actually gets support for importing user LUTs to be used either as baked-in PP LUTs or as a monitoring LUT when shooting in S-Log. There's definitely some traces of the Cinema Line DNA in here, but you'll also find some ZV E1 DNA in here as well. It's a very diverse camera because it's got that automatic framing feature where it crops your video in, then moves the frame around so it follows the subject, kind of similar to Apple's center stage. We get focus breathing compensation, something we first saw on the A7 Mark IV. So Sony's been very generous when it came to including video features on the Alpha 6700. But it also makes sense since this is their flagship APS-C hybrid as well. I should probably put the lens back on before I spit in it. Now, hybrid, meaning they were equally generous with features for stills. In stills mode, you'll find the soul of an A7R5 in this APS-C body. It's got the same AI-powered subject tracking capabilities, same extensive list of subjects that it can recognize, and in action, it is chillingly good, like Bing chilling good. Eye tracking works on human subjects even when wearing a face mask. On animals, it can track them even when they are facing away from the camera, which is great for taking photos of your pets who don't even want to look at you.
Latte, look at me. Oh, it worked. Hello. Whoa.
The focus bracketing feature we previously saw only on the 7R Mark V is also here on the 6700. It uses the same shutter mechanism as its predecessor, the Alpha 6600, so continuous shooting speed of 11 frames per second, but thanks to that newer processor, the buffer can hold quite a lot more before it fills up. You'll also find some ZV-Line breadcrumbs here in stills, especially in the UI and how touch optimized it can be. And no, this isn't just about the new menu system since the A7S Mark III. In addition to the function menu, which can now be called up by swiping up on the screen, you've got 2 rows of quick access icons, which can also be called up and dismissed simply by swiping. But what I like about these is how easy it makes operation when you've got the camera pointed back towards you. You've got more control over the camera from just a touchscreen now, and there's even an on-screen shutter button. The images, of course, are not going to disappoint. It's a very good balance between resolution and low light performance, very respectable dynamic range, and all put to very good use in a camera that is absolutely filled with bells and whistles. It's got the best tech from each lineup of Sony's cameras. It's small, it's light, it's weather sealed, it can double as a 4K USB webcam, it can now even charge over USB power delivery. For Sony APS-C, this is the most diverse and complete package yet.